What if a starving runaway girl saved a biker queen from drowning, and in one impossible moment became family to the most feared motorcycle club on earth? 6 months had passed since Maya pulled Sarah from the bottom of Pine Lake. 6 months since the skinny, hungry runaway became family to the Hells Angels Motorcycle Club. But now, her abusive foster parents have tracked her down. Will the club's iron wall of protection hold, or will the system rip away the only real family she's ever known? Maya stood in front of her bedroom mirror, running her fingers over the leather vest that marked her as one of them. The patches felt rough under her touch. She still couldn't believe this was her life. "Maya, breakfast," Sarah called from downstairs. The smell of bacon and coffee filled the 2-story house by the lake. This was home now. Maya had a real bed, clean clothes, and 3 meals a day. Best of all, she had people who cared about her. In the kitchen, Sarah flipped pancakes on the stove. Her long hair with silver streaks was tied back in a ponytail. 6 months ago, that hair had floated around her still face at the bottom of the lake. Now Sarah hummed as she cooked, alive and happy. "Big day tomorrow," Sarah said, sliding a plate of food in front of Maya. "First day of school. Nervous?" Maya poked at her pancakes with a fork. "A little," she admitted. "What if the other kids find out where I came from, or that I live with?" She touched the small patch on her vest that said, "Angels forever, forever angels." "You're just as good as any of them," Sarah said firmly. "Better than most." Heavy boots thumped down the stairs, and Dave appeared in the doorway. His gray beard was neatly trimmed, but nothing could make the president of the Hells Angels look less scary to strangers. To Maya, though, his face meant safety. "School papers all set?" Dave asked, pouring himself coffee. His huge hands made the mug look tiny. Those same hands had performed CPR on Sarah that day at the lake. Those hands had later signed the guardianship, papers making Maya legally their ward until she turned 18. "All set," Maya said. "My records finally came through from my last school." She didn't mention how strange it felt to have adults handling these things for her. Before, she had been on her own, faking signatures and making excuses. After breakfast, Dave said, "Come on, kid, let's go for a ride before the club meeting." Outside, the morning air was cool against Maya's face. Dave's motorcycle gleamed in the driveway, polished to a shine. Next to it sat a smaller bike, Maya's 16th birthday present from last month. She was still learning to ride it, with Dave teaching her. As they rode along the lake road, Maya felt the familiar rush of freedom. Wind pushed against her face and made her eyes water. The engine rumbled beneath her. For these moments, she could forget about school tomorrow and all her worries. But what if the past wasn't done hunting her? They pulled into the club's parking lot 15 minutes later. The den, as members called it, was a large building with small windows and a heavy door. Motorcycles lined up outside. Men and women in vests like Maya's stood around talking and smoking. "There's our miracle girl called Trish," the red-haired woman who had been the first to welcome Maya months ago. Trish had run away from home once too, though she never said why. Inside the den, the air smelled of leather, coffee, and cigarettes. Old rock music played from speakers in the corners. Club members nodded at Maya, some calling her name. 6 months ago, these scary-looking people had been strangers. Now they were her family. Meeting in 5, called the club treasurer, a man named Rick with tattoos covering both arms. While the members gathered around the long table, Maya went to the small kitchen area. She wasn't allowed in official club meetings yet. Sarah said that would come when she was 18. As Maya made herself a soda, she heard the club chaplain's voice rise above the others. "We got word that the Broken Chains are moving into Rockford," he said. "That's too close for comfort." Dave's deep voice answered, "We'll send a welcoming committee. Make sure they understand the boundaries." Maya's hand froze around her can of soda. The Broken Chains were another motorcycle club. Bad ones from what little she knew. She had heard Dave and Sarah talking in low voices about them late at night. Later, as they rode back home, storm clouds gathered over Pine Lake. The water looked dark and angry, so different from its calm blue surface on other days. Maya remembered Sarah's still body at the bottom of that lake. She remembered diving down through the murky green water, lungs burning. "Storm's coming," Dave said when they pulled into the driveway. Maya looked at the dark clouds and nodded. "Yes," she said quietly, "I think it is." Monday morning came too quickly. Maya stood at the front doors of Lakeside High School, her backpack hanging from one shoulder. She had taken off her leather vest today. Dave and Sarah agreed it might be better to keep her connection to the club quiet at first. But she couldn't hide the Angels patch sewn onto her backpack, or the AFA charm that hung beside her mother's locket around her neck. "You've got this," Sarah had told her that morning, straightening Maya's new shirt. "Just be yourself." Now, as kids pushed past her into the building, Maya took a deep breath and stepped inside. The hallway smelled like floor cleaner and cheap perfume. Lockers slammed. People laughed and shouted. It had been almost a year since Maya had been in a real school. Her stomach felt tight as she looked for the office to get her schedule. In her first class, the teacher made Maya stand up front. "We have a new student," she said. "This is Maya Miller. Make her feel welcome, Miller." That was Dave and Sarah's last name. Now Maya's too. Pairs of eyes stared at her. Some looked curious, some bored. One girl with blonde hair whispered to her friend, and they both giggled. "You can sit next to Amber," the teacher said, pointing to an empty desk. Amber had dark hair like Maya's and a friendly smile. "Cool backpack," she said as Maya sat down. Her eyes lingered on the Angels patch. "Thanks," Maya said. She wondered what Amber would think if she knew the whole story. That 6 months ago, Maya had been digging through trash for food. That she now lived with the president of the Hells Angels. That she had saved his wife from drowning after 9 minutes underwater. By lunchtime, Maya had survived 3 classes. No one had been mean to her, but no one except Amber had really talked to her either. She sat with Amber's friends in the cafeteria, picking at a sandwich Sarah had packed for her. "So, where did you move from?" one of Amber's friends asked. "We move a lot," Maya said. The lie felt heavy in her mouth. As Maya walked to her next class, a man's voice made her freeze mid-step. "I'll need to see all the new student files," the voice said. Maya turned slowly. Through the glass window of the school office, she saw a man in a gray suit talking to the secretary. His back was to her, but she would know that voice anywhere. Mr. Richards, her old social worker. Maya's heart began to pound in her chest. What was he doing here? Had he somehow tracked her down? The papers Dave and Sarah had filed were legal. The judge had signed off on the guardianship. But still, seeing Mr. Richards sent a wave of fear through Maya's body. She ducked into the bathroom before he could turn around and see her. Inside a stall, Maya pulled out her phone with shaking hands and called the only person she could think of. "Trish," she whispered when the call connected. "He's here. Mr. Richards, my old social worker at my school." Trish's voice was steady and calm. "Stay put, kiddo. I'm calling Dave right now." Maya leaned against the cool tile wall, trying to breathe. Memories flooded back. Foster homes with locked refrigerators, shouting matches, and worse. The Grants had been the last straw. Mr. Grant with his wandering hands that made Maya's skin crawl. Mrs. Grant with her cold eyes that saw things that weren't there, always accusing Maya of stealing or lying. The bathroom door swung open. Maya held her breath. "Maya, you in here?" It was Amber. "You're going to be late for history." "I'm not feeling well," Maya called back. "Tell the teacher I went to the nurse." When Amber left, Maya peered carefully out of the bathroom door. The hallway was empty now, everyone in class. Through the office window, she could see Mr. Richards sitting with the principal, looking through files. In his hand was a photo. Even from this distance, Maya recognized her own face. Her phone buzzed with a text from Trish. "Dave and Sarah are on their way. Stay out of sight." Maya felt sick. She had finally found a real home, people who cared about her. What if they took her away? What if they sent her back to the Grants? She touched the 2 charms around her neck, drawing strength from them. "You okay, kid?" Trish had appeared beside her, concern in her eyes. "Fine," Maya said quickly. "Just thinking about school tomorrow." But as the meeting continued behind closed doors, Maya couldn't stop a cold feeling from spreading in her stomach. She touched the two pendants hanging around her neck, her mother's silver locket and her angel's charm. She had found safety with the angels. She didn't want anything to change that. For the next hour, Maya hid in the bathroom, checking her phone every few minutes for updates from Trish. When the final bell rang, she heard hundreds of feet moving through the hallways as students headed home. Her phone buzzed again. Wait 5 more minutes, then go to the front office. We're all here. 5 minutes later, Maya walked slowly to the office, her heart still pounding. Through the window, she could see not just Mr. Richards now, but a police officer too. And beyond them, through the window to the parking lot, she saw Dave's motorcycle along with 3 others. The storm that had been brewing yesterday had finally arrived. As Maya pushed open the office door, she felt like she was diving into deep water all over again. All eyes turned to Maya as she stepped into the office. The small room felt crowded with the principal behind her desk, Mr. Richards in a chair, and a police officer standing by the wall. The principal looked up with a worried frown. "There you are, Maya," she said. "These gentlemen need to speak with you." Mr. Richards stood up, straightening his gray tie. "Maya," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "It's been a while." Before Maya could answer, the office door banged open again. Dave filled the doorway, his big shoulders blocking the light from the hallway. Behind him stood Sarah, and behind her, Trish and 2 other club members. The smell of leather and motor oil cut through the office's paper and perfume scent. "What's going on here?" Dave demanded, his voice a low rumble that seemed to shake the room. The principal stood up, looking nervous. "Mr. Miller, I presume. I was just explaining to Officer Jenkins that there seems to be some confusion about Maya's guardianship." Mr. Richards stepped forward. "There's no confusion. Maya is a ward of the state who ran away from her foster home. The Grants have filed a missing persons report. They've been very worried." Maya's stomach dropped at the mention of the Grants. The lie was so big it almost made her laugh. The Grants had never worried about her a day in their lives. "That's not true," Maya said, finding her voice at last. "I ran away because—" "Maya," Mr. Richards cut her off. "You've clearly been through a lot. These people—" He glanced at Dave and the others, his lip curling slightly at their leather vests and tattoos. "They may have meant well, but harboring a runaway is a serious offense." Officer Jenkins shifted his weight, looking uncomfortable. "If there's a valid missing persons report," Dave pulled a folded paper from his vest pocket and handed it to the officer. "Legal guardianship papers," he said, "signed by Judge Williams 3 months ago." The officer unfolded the document, studying it while Mr. Richards tried to look over his shoulder. "This appears to be in order," Officer Jenkins said slowly. "There must be some mistake," Mr. Richards insisted. "The Grants never gave up their foster rights." Sarah stepped forward now, her voice sharp. "Then explain why Maya was half-starved and living under a pier when we found her. Explain the bruises she had." The room went quiet. Maya felt her face grow hot as everyone looked at her again. "Is that true?" the principal asked softly. Maya nodded, her throat tight. "Mr. Grant, he—" The word stuck in her mouth. She had never said it out loud before. Never told anyone what had happened in that house. Not even Dave and Sarah knew all of it. Trish stepped forward, her red hair bright against her black vest. "I was 16 when I ran from the same thing," she said quietly to the officer, "and I wasn't the first or the last. If you check the Grants' history, I bet you'll find other complaints." Mr. Richards' face turned red. "This is outrageous. The Grants are certified foster parents with an excellent record. Check it," Dave said to the officer. His voice was calm but firm. "Check their record. Talk to other kids who stayed with them." Officer Jenkins looked thoughtful. "I can make some calls." "In the meantime," the principal said, "I see legal guardianship papers here. Unless there's a court order saying otherwise, Maya stays with the Millers." Mr. Richards wasn't giving up. "These people are Hell's Angels," he said, spitting the words. "Known criminals. Is that the environment you want for a troubled teen?" Something snapped inside Maya. "Troubled? I saved Sarah's life. I pulled her up from the bottom of a lake after 9 minutes underwater. These people took me in when I had nothing. They feed me and clothe me and care about me. That's more than the system ever did." The room went silent again. Maya hadn't meant to shout, but the words had burst out of her like water breaking through a dam. The principal cleared her throat. "Perhaps we should all take a step back. Officer Jenkins, would you mind making those calls? In the meantime, Maya will continue to attend school as a student under the Miller's guardianship. As they left the office, Maya felt like everyone in the school was watching. Word had spread fast. Kids lined the hallway staring at the group of leather-clad bikers escorting Maya out. One boy whispered too loudly, "That's the Angels." "My dad says they're all criminals." Dave's hand tightened on Maya's shoulder, but he kept walking, head high. In the parking lot, more whispers followed them. Maya saw Amber standing with her friends, eyes wide. "Maya," Amber called. "Are you okay?" Maya stopped. This was what she had feared. Everyone knowing, everyone judging. But something had changed in the office. She wasn't ashamed anymore. "I'm fine," she called back. "See you tomorrow." As they reached the motorcycles, Officer Jenkins came running from the building. "Hold up," he called. His face looked grim. "I just got off the phone with another officer. 2 other former foster kids have come forward with complaints against the Grants in the last month." This changes things. Maya felt Sarah's arm come around her shoulders. For the first time that day, she took a full breath. "We're pressing charges," the officer said. "The Grants will be arrested tonight." 3 weeks passed like a dream. Maya stood in the courthouse hallway watching as 2 police officers led the Grants away in handcuffs. Mr. Grant's face was red with anger. Mrs. Grant kept her eyes on the floor. They didn't look at Maya as they passed. She was glad. "It's over," Sarah said, squeezing Maya's hand. "They can't hurt anyone else now." The past 3 weeks had been hard. Maya had to tell her story to police officers and lawyers. 2 other foster kids who had lived with the Grants came forward too. A girl named Jessie, who was now 19, and a boy named Tyler, who was 14. Their stories matched Maya's. The Grants had hurt them all. Outside the courthouse, the sun shone bright in a clear blue sky. A line of motorcycles stretched down the street, at least 30 of them. Members of the club had come from 3 states away to stand with Maya today. They formed a wall of leather vests on the courthouse steps, a living shield between Maya and the rest of the world. "You did good, kid," Dave said, his arm around her shoulders. His gray beard couldn't hide his proud smile. As they walked down the steps, Maya saw a familiar face in the crowd. It was her school principal, Mrs. Chen. She stood apart from the bikers, looking a little nervous but determined. When she saw Maya, she stepped forward. "Maya," she said, "I wanted to be here today, and I believe I owe your family an apology." Dave raised his eyebrows in surprise. "I made assumptions," Mrs. Chen continued. "About your club. About your home. I was wrong." She held out her hand to Dave, who shook it with his much larger one. "Thank you for coming," Maya said. She felt a weight lift from her chest. One more bridge between her 2 worlds had been built. Back at school the next day, things were different. Kids who had ignored Maya before now said hello in the hallways. Some asked questions about the Angels, which Maya answered carefully. She didn't tell them everything, but she didn't lie either. "Is it true you saved Mrs. Miller from drowning?" Amber asked at lunch. "Someone said you pulled her up from the bottom of a lake." Maya nodded. "She was stuck down there for 9 minutes. The doctors said it was a miracle she lived." "Wow," Amber said, eyes wide. "And that's how you met them? The Angels?" "That's how I found my family," Maya corrected gently. That afternoon, Dave picked Maya up from school on his motorcycle. Kids watched from windows as she climbed on behind him, no longer hiding who she was or where she belonged. They rode to Pine Lake, where club members were setting up for a party. Tables had been placed near the shore loaded with food. A fire pit was ready for when night fell. Music played from speakers set up near the trees. This was the same spot where Maya had hidden under the pier 6 months ago. The same lake where Sarah had nearly drowned. Now it was the place where the club celebrated victories and marked important days. Today they celebrated the end of the Grants. As the sun began to set, casting orange and pink light across the water, Maya walked down to the edge of the lake. The old pier creaked above her. She looked under it at the spot where she had once huddled with her backpack, hungry and alone. It seemed like another life. Sarah joined her at the water's edge. "Full circle," she said, touching the thin white scar on her hairline, a reminder of that day in the lake. Maya nodded. "Water saved us both," she replied. She touched the 2 pendants at her throat, her mother's silver locket and her angel's charm, past and present, both part of who she was now. Behind them, the sounds of the party grew louder. Laughter and music rose into the evening air. The smell of grilling meat reminded Maya of that first day when she had watched the Angels from her hiding spot, stomach growling with hunger. Maya, Sarah were taking the group photo. Dave called from near the picnic tables. As they walked back to join the others, Maya felt a peace she had never known before. The fear that had lived in her chest since she was a little girl, the fear of being unwanted, of being alone, was finally quiet. The club gathered for the photo, leather vests side by side. Maya and Sarah stood in the front with Dave behind them. Just before the camera clicked, Dave put his hands on their shoulders, connecting them. "Family," he said quietly. As the flash went off, Maya smiled, knowing the word was true. She had dived into deep water and come up with more than she ever dreamed possible. The lake that had nearly taken Sarah's life had given Maya hers back, and she would never be alone again. Later, as stars appeared in the dark sky, Maya stood once more by the water. The lake was calm, reflecting the moon and stars like a perfect mirror. In its surface, Maya could see her own reflection. No longer a hungry ghost, but a girl with a future as vast as the night sky above.